beautifuls. It's nice to see you. I kept myself busy today with literally everything that I probably should not have been doing. I cooked, I cleaned. Mama Bullhorn came by. Mama Bullhorn just left just a little bit ago, but I was meaning to go live a lot earlier, but I was trying to do a waterless roast and I had the wrong cut of meat, and so it wasn't tenderizing. So after about 3 hours, I ended up pulling out and cutting it all up, and ended up making beef stew instead, which came out phenomenal. It was delicious. It was perfect. And then, of course, I proceeded to make cinnamon rolls. We'll leave it at that. They were good. My mom got one. Hey guys, Holly, Chris, me and you, Crystal Pistol, Jenny, it's nice to see you, Princess. It's great to see you, Pam. B. Betty, Melly Cat, it's nice to see you. We really don't have a lot to go over. Obviously, there's no new news in the cases that we're covering, and I kind of gave you guys a quick rundown. Linda, it's nice to see you. Donna, Tina, Lisa, be always. Roxy, Sandy, it's nice to see you. Vicky, Kimmy, Pale Rider, oh, Mrs. E, nice to see you. Bobby, Tammy, Middle Ass. Stacy, Sonina, Terry, it's nice to see you. Oh, Chillbilly, it's nice to see you. Been a little minute. Forever, Nikki's mom, it's nice to see you. Kelly, Debbie, hey guys. Reality Wins, it's nice to see you. So I was trying to figure out, well, actually I had a lot of stuff, but I didn't feel like pulling out the computer and setting it all up, and I'm going to probably have to do that tomorrow. Don't forget, tomorrow morning I have court. Hopefully that goes well. We'll see what goes on in that proceeding. And then after that, at least that gives me some semblance of breathing room, at least I hope. I've got to put the starter on the lawnmower. If I can get that done tomorrow, then I'm mowing the yard. But for the most part, I probably won't be live until well in the afternoon. 11, at least 11, after 11:30 or noon. That's probably when I'll go live, but other than that, I'm just going to be working on getting prepared for court tomorrow, all morning, because I get up so early, it's not gonna really take for the things that I've got to argue tomorrow. It's not gonna take too much. So long story short, it looks like hopefully we'll get back on track at least for a week. I've got to make all of my reservations and everything tomorrow. I got to figure out where I'm going to be staying and everything for the 10th. Guys, don't forget, October 10th, I think it's 11 a.m. 11 a.m. their time is when it might be. No, I think it was 11. I'm pretty sure they put it on for 11. That's when we go for trial for my hearings. So that'll be, I'm expecting, I'm crossing my fingers. I mean, I can't imagine that it wouldn't be successful, but we'll see how it all goes. There's no crystal ball. But I know I didn't do anything wrong, so there is that. Golly, I think that's really all the public service announcements that I have. I don't really have a whole lot, right? So today was just filled with pretty much cooking, literally hours for beef stew. It tasted phenomenal. It did taste like the beef stew had cooked for hours. I have to be honest with you. Chase, and it's nice to see you. It's Chase. This is my personal account. Oh, okay. Well, very good. Very good. Yeah, you should send me your link so when I'm on here and I'm on live, I can send people over to you. Hey, Brittany, it's nice to see you. Oh my gosh, I didn't even check to see if you were live. I just kind of went live because I've been down pretty much all day. I mean, my phone, I don't know how I managed to do this, but my phone stayed in this room literally all day. When I picked it up, it was like dead. I never not have my phone on the charger, but I've just been so preoccupied around here all day today that it's been hard. Church was good. They had a lot of technical issues in church, but you know what I found so funny is they had major technical issues during the worshiping, the singing and stuff like that. But as soon as Pastor Glenn came on, it's like, I mean, you could still tell they were having a little bit, but all the technical issues they were having previously weren't, that kind of all went away when Pastor Glenn went up there, which I thought was really good. But I definitely enjoy going to the church. I definitely enjoy, worshiping with all the coffee beaners that want to be over there. And it's good. It's always a good positive message. It always fuels my body, to start the week and everything like that. So, hey, it's nice to see you. Justin for all. I'm just kind of sitting here. I'm not really going over a whole lot. We're going to kind of recap, but I figured I'd tell everybody why I was so silent today. I had a lot of stuff going on. I was cooking, cleaning, and visiting with mommy. And Delilah's been all over the place, but she's kind of just chilling right now. She always just chills anywhere I am. My mom's like, oh, you had to see her. Oh my gosh. So I was in the, because today was just one of those, don't want to think about days, right? And so I was in the living room, and I never really watch TV that much. I mean, I watch Core TV. I keep it on just to have some type of noise in the background. But for the most part, I don't really pay attention. I'm always on my phone researching and doing this stuff. Well, today, obviously, my phone was in here. And so I was out there, and I was watching, what is it called? Judy Justice now. Judge Judy is Judy Justice now. So I was watching it, and my mom was calling. She's like, she called me, and she says, well, I'm coming back from dropping, my nephew off. And she's like, I was thinking about stopping by on the way back. I'm like, sure, come on by. And so I'm in the living room, which I usually am not in. I'm either in the office or in here or in the kitchen doing something. And so I was in there watching the video or watching the movie, and I see my mom pull up. So I'm like, ooh, Delilah, who's that? Getting her and she's just kind of like, da, 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 da. So I open the door, and she's kind of looking at the door. She didn't know what to do, because I usually open the screen door, and she pops out. And I'm like, who's here? And about that time, my mom's, leg comes out of the car, and I'm like, who's here? And then she pops fully out. And Delilah's back tail just started waggling so much, and she's up on both back legs, and she's just peering, and she's like, hey, I'm sorry, I mean, I'm just trying to impersonate you. That's all I'm doing. And it was just so cute. She knew as soon as she saw the silhouette of Gamzee's, she knew who it was, and she started going crazy, absolutely crazy, dancing on back two legs. She wanted her Gramsies. And of course my mom, she sees how happy Delilah is to see her, that my mom's just grinning from ear to ear. I love seeing all the love and support. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice, and it should be this way. It should be this way, even though I'm not really talking. Well, we're going to be talking about Sebastian's case, but it's kind of going to be second nature, because I didn't really do a whole lot today. I did check out the Rex Heuermann. That's kind of interesting, and I'm sure you guys watched that from my update this morning. I'm really interested in that, because it looks like there might be somebody that's, doing a hard time for maybe some of Rex Heuermann's wet work. And another one is Crystal Rogers. We were hot and heavy in the Crystal Rogers case. And while there hasn't been a whole lot going on, we definitely know the case is progressing. There's a lot of infighting. Steve Lawson has been trying to get, Steve Lawson had an immunity agreement in that case. And remember, when the FBI started pulling back that agreement, I said, what did I tell you guys? I said, he had to have lied, because the FBI does not play like that. They give you a steal of a deal out, but they want you to be honest. You better tell them everything, and I mean everything. You tell them what color your poop is. You don't leave anything out. That was a sweetheart deal that Steve Lawson got, and then he was caught being dishonest here, being dishonest there, being dishonest. So they kind of pulled that agreement back, and he's been trying to get it back ever since. Now, if I recall correctly, he fired I can't remember the guy's name. I was just reading it earlier today. I'm going to be preparing a video. But his attorney that was negotiating the transactional agreement, you know, he called the transactional immunity agreement is what the guy called him. But apparently he was working with Nick Houck's attorney under his nose without his consent, and sharing some, you know, details. And so that soured that relationship. And the last time I remember seeing, which was like a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, Stephen Lawson publicly fired his attorney right there in court. And so I don't know what that's going to do. I know they're trying to sever the cases because they've got them all being tried together in one type of trial. And they're saying, no, we want them severed. Steve wants his, what was his son's name? Good gracious. Joseph wanted his, and Nick, Brooks wanted his. So they haven't decided on whether they're going to be severed or not. And they're looking for a change of venue to boot. So there is a lot going on in the Crystal Rogers case. And of course, Rex Heuermann is starting to heat up if there is a possibility somebody has been doing his time. Like, that freaks me out. And when you hear the similarities between the two cases, Bitholf, I think is the way you pronounce his name, or something like that, is in jail for, and this one, they were all in close proximities, all were posed with the hands above the head, the legs spread apart, all had wood chips on them, and two of them were charged with another guy, which he was convicted for, and Rex got Sandra Castillo. So they're saying, wait a minute here, they have forever thought these three cases were connected, and now we have one that links directly by DNA to Rex. I don't know. It's going to be pretty interesting. Betty, people are threatening creators over Diddy now, LOL. Exact same tactics. These hate channels, they're awful. We just need to say no. Oh, and I did misspeak, and I want to clarify this. I said Yeda had cancer, and I just, for fact-checking purposes, I misspoke. I meant to say lupus. I knew it was a ailment, but it's still very detrimental to her health, you know, and she's going through a lot. So I'm hoping that everybody just leaves her alone, and she had a right to say what she wanted to say and speak to me, and everybody does have that right, and people just need to chill the F out, you know. It's not all about the hate. Nobody really cares about the hate anymore. I think people are so over it. I mean, because we have a lot of great people on these platforms. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of great people. And, you know, for a little bit, you can't, you know, maybe people coming in, they can't tell who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. But after 3 years of this nonsense and watching them progressively get worse and more violent and more destructive, and more of a problems in these true crime cases, it's kind of hard to ignore at this point. And we know who the problems are, and we just need to, you know what, even if you care about their, you know, crap commentary, whatever, justifying the support for them is so detrimental to these true crime cases that you are literally supporting the detriment to the cases. So if you're a true crime junkie, you can't support that because it's destroying these cases. Look at all the problems this case has. You know, some people may say it's still keeping the case in the spotlight. Nobody wants to keep a case in a spotlight like this. I'm sorry, they just don't. They just don't. Yeah, the drama has to go. It does. It's becoming too destructive, and you know, it's so easy because, and you can know who the problem are. It's the same people that complain, that have panels. They never have any, think about it. All these channels, these hate channels, they never once have experts on their panel. They never try to find the truth. They never try to explore anything. All they do, it's pay rage. They get paid to enrage everybody. That's all they do. Who needs that? I mean, we've got enough chaos in these cases as is. I mean, this case is pretty chaotic just all by itself. It doesn't need any more chaos in it. What it needs facts, and it needs people looking at them. And at the end of the day, when you look at the facts, Just because people don't like to hear the facts is not my problem. It's not any of our problems. But as we're working this case, you know, we've gone back to the beginning of this case many times now. I mean, I think this is what, our fourth round, going back to the beginning. This one we've dived back into the beginning really heavy, because right now I think we've been running, you know, lives going back to the beginning at least now for 5 or 6 days, and we're only at March 5th when we stopped talking about it. And this, how it all went is it went from Sebastian reported missing, you know, we went through all the endangered child alert, then the Amber alert, then we went to the search and looked at all the information. We looked at, listened to all the news related to what was going on the grounds those first few days. And it was very clear that everybody believed this child just walked out of the home. But at some point, this case started taking a turn where it was starting to be very apparent that there's some foul play here, that you know, based on statistics, this child should be found here, and this child's not being found here. And then they're going back to the videos and realizing, wait a minute, we got no videos of this kid either. That although the parents are saying he walked out of the house, but there's no images on anything. So then we bring, you know, the scent dogs are brought in, and they can't catch a scent, but they catch someone's scent, but we're assured it was not Sebastian's scent. Hey, Cheeky Chops, it's nice to see you. We see we hear about all of these things going on, and then we hear that this case is starting to take a turn, and they're scaling back resources and scaling back on their search. And then is the first time we start hearing these interviews now coming out and pouring out from the mom and the stepfather on the heels of this case going from a missing child case over to a criminal investigation as these searches are being scaled back. We hear from the Dutch's interview, we hear one story there, then we see them, because on the Dutch's interview, they did not show their face or anything like that. And then the day that it's announced that this case is being scaled back and they're now entertaining foul play, we see the mom and the stepdad come out in the WSMV interview. And of course, that was a little clip and everything, and there was pressure from the public to release the entire interview, which they ultimately did. And it was a jaw dropper, because we saw a mom and a stepfather struggling, and it wasn't struggling to find words in their, you know, grief and not being able to. It was just the opposite. It was very cold. You know, we never saw tears coming down the mom's face, yet she had a tissue in her hand. But even when she'd wipe her face, the tissue didn't get wet. So we have some weird behaviors, but now we're going into the 6th, which was kind of quiet that day. And then we're approaching, actually not really that day. So it was the 5th that everything was a little quiet. And they were just regurgitating some news that they had already previously posted. And we were learning on the 6th that they have decided to go into the landfill. So they scaled back the searches, and then boom, they're in the landfill searching for something. We don't know what. They said it was unsuccessful, nothing to see over here. But that was a real telling sign for the public. Why do I say that? Because we're learning that they went from a missing person child case to now entertaining foul play, to now reducing the search, and now they're in a landfill. This is a very good indicator what law enforcement was thinking about that at that time, because you don't reduce the search change it to entertaining the possibility of foul play, and then go into a landfill and say this is just a precautionary measure or normal, protocol or whatever. We all know different. This was a very clear indicator that none of us wanted to acknowledge at the time. This was telling us what law enforcement was thinking could have happened at that time. That is not a good place for law enforcement to start concentrating efforts after they start scaling back searches. It was a cue. It was a cue. And I keep wondering if anything they pulled out of that landfill that we don't know about, because we know that they weren't forthcoming with us on a lot of stuff. When Nick Barris put that video out, they actually lied to the public about the authenticity of that. They were basically saying that it was a dump truck, but as Miss Bobby said, no, it wasn't, because we could clearly see a couple hours later the dump truck and the school bus come through the area. Betty, I just have to say you look amazing and so professional in your interview. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I always dress up on my interviews. I always show my interviewees respect, and it's not a normal show when we do the interviews. It's a much different platform. Even the commentary in the chat, we're very, 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 very strict on the commentary in the chat, because we expect everybody to mind their P's and Q's. Is that Big Boy? I haven't seen Big Boy up in here in a really long time. Well, a big shout out to you, my friend. Big shout out to you, my friend. So that's kind of where we are in the Sebastian Rogers case. I don't know where this is going to go, but all I can say is what I identified in those first few interviews before this took a turn was the focus being taken off the missing person and being put on the mom and the stepdad's discomfort. That's what we call self-preservation. So, we always look at these videos to find out what was the true intention of their interview. And when you look really deep, especially the green shirt interview, when the full interview was released, there was no question in anybody's mind what was the purpose of that interview. And it was self-preservation. And here's how I know. Because the interviewer had to remind him, well, I'm sure Sebastian's in here somewhere. That was your first cue and clue that interview was never about Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. And it was about poor me, poor me, poor me. That, to me, is a critical, and I mean critical, red flag. We've been saying a lot at the beginning of this case, and I believe that it's important that we do, because I think everybody needs to see the transition of when this case went from a missing person case to this criminal investigation that we're in currently. Even though nobody's wanting to say that dirty word, criminal. They just want to say, oh, it's just an investigation. There's nothing to see over here. We just got a runaway boy. No big deal. It is a big deal. We have a human being that is missing. And no one can tell us how or why. And when we ask those questions, we've never gotten a straight answer on how or why. We know the when. We know the where. We know the what. But we don't know the why or the how. The $1 million question. Remember? The $1 million question is, how did he leave? Well, I would think that a mom and the stepfather would have taken that into consideration before they absolutely adamantly state he ran away from home. What if the boogeyman came in the house and snatched him? They lost critical time. Critical time. I went back because I am reviewing the Crystal Rogers case, and I don't think they have any relations to one another. Crystal Rogers was in Bardstown, Kentucky, and her mother gave an interview. And her mother still, to this day, now she had an adult child disappear, and still to this day can't give an interview without breaking down. Still to this day. And then one of our audience members, had been bringing up, oh gosh gracious, I was just reading it. I'm on the wrong phone. Hold on. I can tell you when I do my searches. Kyron, I can't remember the name. Kyron Horman. Kyron Horman. Somebody had asked me to look in the Kyron Horman case, and the reason why they wanted me to look into the Kyron Horman case was because they wanted me to see the similarities between the Kyron Horman case and the Sebastian Rogers case. And Kyron Horman was a young boy, I believe he was about 8 years old, and this is in Portland. Was it Portland, Oregon? I think it was Portland, Oregon. I'm going off the top of my head. So if I'm wrong about a few facts, don't mind me. Anyways, this kid had some medical conditions, was living with his mother. Mother took good care of him, but then they found out he had some type of medical conditions that required a lot more. Okay, thank you. He was 7 years old. And so his father, which seemed like he had more money, was going to take him in, and mom was still going to have, a relationship with her son and stuff like that, but I think it was for financial reasons. Well, the father was also married to another woman, and they were getting ready to have another child. This child Kyron went to his science fair. Apparently they had a science fair before the school. The way it sounded when I was reading it is there was a science fair, and they must have gotten there early for the science fair, and then they were supposed to proceed to their classrooms to start their day. Well, the only person that went with him that day was his stepmother. And according to her, she left the school and he was going to his class. However, he never made it to his first class. This lady's story has changed multiple times. The father, and then she was trying to hire the gardener to off her husband. Her husband ended up filing for divorce. The state could never make the case against the stepmother. So the mom ended up suing the stepmother in civil court for, I can't remember, where you're responsible for the death of someone or whatever. And that she ended up dropping that case due to the ongoing investigation. Dr. Phil actually interviewed this lady, and I gotta tell you, her story doesn't make sense. She doesn't act like she's supposed to be acting, where a child that you say you love and care about in your custody disappeared, and you're angry with the world and worried about what they were saying. So there were a lot of similarities in that aspect. There were a lot of similarities in the changes of the story as well. But I think the key for that story, and I think the reason why they have never found Kyron is because I believe that this would be one that he ended up in a dumpster. I don't think she would have been self-sufficient to dig or anything like that, and she went to 2 grocery stores, a gym, and some other places, and I think this would have been one where she would have been able to hide him or dump him somewhere, and this was 14 plus years ago. So our CCTV footage probably was what it is today. He would have turned 21 years old too. Just turned 21. Wow. It's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. So, but there are some definitely similarities in the stories. You know, this case is obviously not good for the obvious reasons. The reasons why the mom and the stepdad are kind of in the hot seat is because they've changed their story. And we've heard, you know, rumblings from their neighbors and legitimate sources that there were some serious marital problems going on. You know, stepfather out there screaming in the middle of the yard, it's either your son or me. The stepfather going to work and basically never coming back to the house until he was gone. There's just a lot of stuff that we can't just dismiss when it comes to this case. Never mind that this child was sheltered. He didn't have access to the internet. The low probability of this being a stranger danger situation, and even lower because he didn't really have friends or connection to the outside world. You know, there is that means and opportunity, right? I mean, there has to be means and opportunity for a third party to get to him, unbeknownst to his mom, stepdad, and father. So, you know, we have a lot of questions here that have gone unanswered for many months. We've got, you know, we're hearing through the grapevine, we're hearing through interviews concretely that as of March 20th, that's on Smiley's interview, that there was no fingerprints or forensics done of the house. We know for a fact, I've asked Seth myself, has Sebastian's room at your house been forensically tested? He said no. You know, it's like, wait a minute. The directive of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children state that the home and the bedroom should become a crime scene. He had 2 bedrooms. Both of those bedrooms should have been a crime scene. The one at Seth's house as well as the one at their house. Both of those rooms should have been fully processed forensically. And we know if the house wasn't forensically tested, we know the vehicles weren't forensically tested, we know the camper wasn't forensically tested. I'm sorry, this is not good enough for us. We know 90% of these cases are solved by DNA. Look at the Brian Kohberger case. Literally a speck of DNA. Broke the case wide open. We went from a needle in the haystack to the freaking needle. Nobody can say where Sebastian would have met a third party, where Sebastian would have had stranger danger. Oh, well, what if he had a phone? Okay, so what if? You're throwing a lot of things with not a scintilla of information. Yeah, anything's possible, but what is the probability of it happening in this child's life? Him having a second phone would imply that he has a good connection with friends, that they talk about this type of stuff, and they all agree to it, that he's missing the friends part. He's not going to think of this stuff by himself. Well, maybe he snuck on the computer. Why would he sneak on the computer? Yes, normal teens do that. But when you're autistic, their kryptonite is video games, not playing on social media with their friends. So where's the third party being introduced? That is the puzzle piece that's missing. Why is it missing? Because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And yeah, we could opine that his father had something to do with it. Until we found out his father was working. Until we realized his father was on camera. Now that eliminates that possibility. Didn't CP say something to the effect that Sebastian thought he'd get me kicked out of my own house? Well, we're going to be making it to the Smiley's World interview, and I think that's the interview that might have that on it. But I know that it got really hot and heavy on the Web Sleuths interview as well, and we need to go back and watch that. We've watched that before, but we haven't watched it in context with everything we're learning. And one of the reasons why I'm bringing everybody back to the beginning is because of the misinformation and disinformation campaigns that are going on right now, and they're believing their audience isn't going to remember these details at the beginning. So at least if I have something that brings everybody back to the factual information contained in the news articles, then they can follow the right chain of events and the right leads moving forward, instead of this hocus pocus nonsense coming from the drama channels that when everybody there is uneducated and has not even a scintilla of factual law on their side. They commit crimes. They're all felons. You would think felons would be a little bit better at the crimes than being constantly caught with their pants down all the time. But then you got to remember, felons are felons for a reason, because they didn't cover their crimes, right? They're idiots. Duh. That is not always true. I hate when people think all autistic people are dumb and exactly alike. Actually, we learned very much different, Mary. We learned that autistic children have their own tics. We learned that a lot of them are very, very smart. But the one thing that, out of everything that I learned, and I say this all the time, but everything I learned about the autistic child is that they're, not everyone has the same tics, the same, where they're, OCD-ish, I call it ish, about, one thing or another. Like, for example, Sebastian's is putting shoes on. Another autistic child may not wear shoes at all. Another autistic child may not like the taste or the texture of a certain food. All of their tics and meltdowns and everything like that is different from one autistic child to another. But the one common theme that I find from autistic, I look for similarities, to follow things. And out of everything, even the outbursts, like their meltdowns are all over different stuff. Some get overstimulated, some may not. And some may get very frustrated and high maintenance and may have a meltdown or a full-blown explosion being overstimulated. Some may not. But the one key ingredient from autistic child to autistic child that I've seen, if I could compare anything and say this is more in line, it's the video games. It's the video games. The kids, the autistic children and adults, because the autistic child does grow up to an adult, and those adult high functioning or non-high functioning adult autistic person still has I almost want to call it a fetish, but it's not really a fetish. It's like, that's obviously the wrong word, but like a need for video games. Am I only working on this case? We just covered 2 other cases that I had been working on. The cases are slow. There's not a lot of updates. We just did a update on Crystal Rogers, an update on Rex Heuermann earlier. Where, Leilani Simon's trial's coming up soon. Alec Murdaugh's appeals coming up. So we cover a lot of things, but yes, I only dive deep into one case. And I don't know if you know how much, obviously you probably don't research that much, but it takes a lot. Okay. And there's just me. When we were at the beginning, it was my whole entire team up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which is what gives us this stuff like ingrained up here. But you're not, if you don't like the commentary, you don't have to be here. It's called being an adult going on, It's nearly all children of younger generation. My grandson, his girlfriend both play video games. My autistic grandson is high functioning. These kids have their own personalities. They aren't all the same. Absolutely not. Mm-mm. Now that's the one thing that's been drilled in my head. And the therapies, I don't think people realize there are therapies, but it's still very hard. One of the things that I think was very difficult, we have to understand, because this was impressed upon me, is that the puberty aspect of autistic children is very, very, very difficult on the family. And it's even more difficult on the autistic child. And it just so happens that this is kind of where we are with Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He's in this puberty stage, and it had to have been very difficult on his family as well as it was on him. And we have to look at that, because I never really explored that too much. Maybe that needs to be for those that have autistic children that have already gone through puberty. I don't want any kind of, whatever you're willing to share with me to talk about the difficulties. Obviously, I keep things confidential, so if you do provide me a little personal insight, I'm not going to blast or anything like that. It's really for my own personal knowledge, because that's one thing I haven't explored. I know that it's been difficult on the family and child, but I'm still not, I mean, I can kind of understand some aspects of it just by, biology and stuff like that. But, do they have more meltdowns? Is that what it is? Is it, the body changing and it freaking them out and it's triggering something? I guess that's really what I'm trying to figure out. What does it do? What are the issues with the family and the child? I guess it is as respectfully as possible, something like that. Something bad happened to Sebastian, and they could not get him medical help because they would be reported. That's what I'm kind of thinking. And we know that, well, this is hypothetical, okay? Just pure hypothetical. I don't know if this is the truth, if this is the case or not. But I was told by, other CPS, not CPS workers in this area, but I have been told by CPS workers they don't ask a family member to leave the home. They either have enough to remove the child or they don't. That's what I heard. But we have to look at a different dynamic here in this community, because it sounds like people knew everybody's business here. It sounds like this is an area of the good old boys. If something's coming down the pike, they're probably going to forewarn the person before it happens, just out of country hospitality and country respect. I don't know. But it seems like if obviously CPS was involved, there's no dispute about whether CPS was involved in that household or not. We know without a doubt, yes, they were. We know without a doubt that there was some type of situation that went on inside that home that brought the CPS back out there as recently as January of 2024. After January 2024, the stepfather no longer returns to that residence up until this child disappears. So, was there more going on in that household that we're not privy to that made the stepfather stay away from the house? Now, again, I've talked to many Department of Children and Family Services alphabet soup that says that they don't tell parents not to come back to the house or anything like that, and actually tell me that it's against their rules to say so. But that doesn't mean that doesn't happen in a smaller community where they are a little more honest and say, look, this is not going to look good. This is going to be the process. you know, they're probably going to do this, 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 and this. Maybe it'll be best if you just leave for a little while and let things, you know, smooth over. I can see that going on in this community. Why? Because they arrest people that don't commit crimes in that community. So I'd have to imagine that if a family like them can do that, they can probably get away with just about anything. Even just a thought. Just a thought. I think it's awfully suspect that we have the Department of Children and Family Services in that home and the stepfather not returning to that home until that child was gone. That doesn't sit comfortably with me, but that is the facts of the case. These are facts. These are undisputed facts. Everybody knows that the Department of Children and Family Services were inside their home in 2024. 2024. He had just turned 15 in December of 2023. An incident happened that brought the Department of Children and Family Services knocking on their door. Stepfather leaves and doesn't return again. I don't know. None of this looks good, you know? And it's a lot of coincidences that a few people want us to believe that are just coincidences. And it's like, well, how many times do you want us just to chalk it up as coincidences? Because this is starting to get pretty high in the numbers. And I'm sorry, but I've never covered a case where there's this many coincidences that are just plain coincidences. It has nothing to do with the case. It is what it is, you know? It just doesn't feel right in my belly. I swear, this dog. I think she just waits to see where I'm putting my camera and decides to go. Something bad. Come on, Delilah. Hi. You see this? This is a camera. That's the phone. That little heart thing that you feel like it might be pressing up against you. That's what this is, okay? And every time you kick it, it goes boom, 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 boom. She was so happy to see Gamsies. She was so happy to see Gamsies. She's still such a baby. She's still such a baby. I'm sorry. I love her to death. Her and I chill so much. She's got to be around me. She'll go play by herself, but she'll only play by herself for about 15-20 minutes, and then she's looking for me, and she's like, meow, 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 meow. Isn't that what you do? Meow, 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 meow. She tries to talk, and then she tries to walk like a human. I think she thinks she's a human. I don't think she knows she's a dog yet. She's gonna. Oh my gosh! Just a side note here, and then we'll get back to the topic of conversation. Just a side note. So she hasn't figured out how there's a dog in a mirror. She hasn't realized what she's looking at is herself. So she'll get on the edge of the bed and she'll go like this. And then she'll grab a toy or something, and she'll move around with a toy in her mouth. I'm like, that's your reflection. And then she'll grab another toy and move her head to see. Oh, that's funny. Okay, it's hormones on speed. Everything normal at 1,000 times more. Gotcha. A writer, Julia Skolnick, is very interesting and knowledgeable about autistic kids. Okay, thank you for that. Probably had more defiance issues and difficulties regulating the emotional stuff. Yeah, well, we definitely heard something. You know what I'm saying? We definitely heard there were some things going on, because the mom even talked about the mustache coming in and it really irritating him, or, you know, he's not understanding what that is and why he's getting this hair on his face. So, oh, I just saw Tony in the chat. Nice to see you, Tony. I'm not going to be on here very long. I just wanted to come on and say hey, just talk about a little bit. I still believe someone that neighborhood seen something or heard something with those houses so close together. They're actually not as close as you think they are. They're on decent sized lots and they're big homes, and it looks like they're not wood. I mean, I could be wrong about the construction, but it looked like they were concrete block. And I'm telling you, concrete block home, especially with good insulation, you're probably not hearing a whole lot. I mean, it'd probably take like fireworks for it to penetrate inside the home from the outside. And, you know, maybe if you're near a window and a kid's screaming on their bike or something like that, you might be able to hear it. But I can tell you, in this house here it's not a new build at all. It was built in like 1962. And I can tell you, I've been in this house and I've walked out and it sounds like a freaking bar on the outside of this house. Because especially on Friday and Saturdays, all the people, like, apparently they stay up listening to music, or they get drunk and forget to turn the music off. And I'm taking her out at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I don't hear anything in this house, but as soon as I open that door, you hear music, and it's like, okay, yeah. As long as it's not waking me up, I'm fine with it, you know. That happened to me. They made my baby daddy leave until the case was closed. I'm in a small town in Florida, though. Well, that's good to know. I was told they don't do that. I was told it was against their rules, without a court order, to make somebody leave their primary residence, because you have homestead rights and stuff like that. And not only that, but primary resident. I mean, that's where you're residing. So I just don't know. I've gotten mixed stories on that. You know, I've heard people tell me, and I'm like, no, because I know that the people that are telling me what their rules say. And they're telling me that they can't do that. But that doesn't mean that they don't tell people, hey, you know, it might be a little easier if you say that, hey, he's been out of the house, XYZ. Maybe they're just trying, I don't know. Well, if that is the case, would that mean that they were trying to keep Sebastian in the home? Or what would... That almost opens up a whole new thought process. Do you mind if I ask you, if you're from a small town, so this is a small town, you're from a small town, they asked and this is for Lover Not a Fighter, I love the name, your baby daddy, now you don't have to answer it if it's too intrusive, and I apologize, but what were the allegations that were made that made him leave? That they said, whoa, it's, you gonna need to go somewhere there, partner. You know what I'm saying? What was the allegations? And only if you feel comfortable. I don't want to put you on the spot or make you feel uncomfortable, especially about a private matter like this. But if you feel comfortable sharing, would you mind? Or if you don't feel comfortable sharing on the public platform, maybe you can email me the details at bullhornbetty@gmail.com, and I give you my word, I'll keep it confidential. It's just for my knowledge. And that was Lover Not a Fighter. I'll have to remember that so I can keep watch. Something happened at 3 a.m. with the lights in the car. Question is, was he carried out or did he walk? That is a good question. That is a good question. And you know what? I played this on my show on TikTok this morning. And this is what I don't like. Oops, I'm in the wrong area. Hold on. Okay. Lifting an unconscious person. We'll do this one. This is 27 seconds.
First patient at the back. Change the 47 cervical spine, so what you do, and then you go up. Move to the front. Lift the patient up. Squat down. And show all the weights in the legs. Your back straight. And then you lift up. Make sure the patient is resting. Okay.
So, again, just letting you know that people in the military and people that are firefighters learn how to do this. So those are two different techniques that could be deployed. I don't know the answer to that, but the next answer is, if he didn't walk out and he was carried out, what would that look like? You know, Sebastian just started medication and it takes 3 weeks to get into their system. It could have been a reaction chemical imbalance and made a child do things they normally wouldn't do. I have to confirm that because I don't want to, I don't know where that information came from. I can tell you I don't recall hearing that from the mom or the stepdad at all. And I've never asked the father about the medication or how long he's been on it. I know that he was diagnosed with autism within, I think it was a year or a year and a half prior to this event. So I would assume that he would have been on the medication for a significant amount of time, not just 3 weeks. But again, I don't know. I'd like to, do you know where you heard that from? Or if you do have the link where that was, I like to source that information to find out where it sources back to, who made the statement. If you have where it started or what you remember, can you send it to bullhornbetty@gmail.com? I would really like to take a look at it and find out. Yes, I'm thinking the collaboration with various agencies is interesting. Yeah. That would have put KP in the middle. Needs to speak up. Parents should want to keep questions moving the best they can. Well, I can tell you within a matter of just a little bit, there wasn't even a flyer on the mom or stepfather's car. Not a flyer. Not anything. Nothing. They just want this to go away. They definitely don't want it in the public, which is, again, another red flag for me. In my opinion, the thud is more sinister than we know. I think so. And the reason why is because, listen to this. When the house went dark, there was somebody standing in the front window looking out. And I feel like that was to see what was going on outside. Somebody had sent me a message, or a message was sent in the Justice for Sebastian group. And it was a great perspective. I read it earlier, and it basically stated something like, you know, if you haven't been out of the house since 6:30 at night, you're on the phone for a significant amount of time, you're studying, and then you get up and go to bed, how do you know how dark it was that night? And there was a statement made about how incredibly dark it was, and it came from the mother. And you know, I didn't think anything of it, but now looking back on it, that's a great question to ask, is, you know, for ourselves, is how do we explain her knowing how dark it was outside when we've been led to believe this entire time that they've been inside that house since 6:30 at night? You know, we have a lot of examples like this. Oh, thank you, Ginger. God bless you. So, I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to bend your ears too much. I just wanted to come here, say hi. I know it's Sunday. We usually come a lot earlier than this. come live a lot earlier than this on Sunday, but oh, it's me, Jen. It's nice to see you. But my opinion is they had planned. I've been hearing a lot of that. I haven't been on the fence with that, but there were a lot of things going on within a month of his disappearance. A month. I don't know if it was planned. I haven't gotten there yet. You guys know I've been on the fence. I've been struggling with that. I really truly don't believe that this could be planned. I pray to God it can be planned. And it's going to take a lot for me to get off that fence, but there was a lot of stuff going on in and around this home for well over a month. Internal conflict, in my opinion. Internal conflict. And we always see this spiraling effect. We talk about it. For some of you guys are new with me, but we talked about it in Summer Wells' case. It's where you see a spiraling effect go on, but you don't realize that's what's happening. It's a spiraling effect before something major happens. And I have to think that this was the spiraling effect that we weren't seeing up at the beginning. This didn't just happen in 2 days. This wasn't something that just happened, the 25th and the 26th. There were things going on inside this home, some spilling over from 2023, but definitely to the point that it escalated to the CPS being called into the home and the stepfather reaching out to the father to take the child full time because their marriage is in the pits over his son. And they just need to get him out of the house as quickly as possible so they can repair their marriage. And I kept saying, well, that doesn't make sense because he would still have to be coming over there weekends in summer because they're just switching it up, I don't know. The abduction theory is almost next to impossible in my brain. It really is. In my brain, it's next to impossible. I mean, if there was some more riskier activity on the parents, on the child, on the internet, and stuff like that, it would have a higher probability, even though stranger danger is literally not a 0.1, 1/10 of a percent. 1/10 of a percent. 1/10 of a percent. I just want to bring it like that. I just want to make sure everybody understands that 1/10 of a percent is a stranger danger. That means 99.9% of all the other abductions are people that know the person. These are statistics. These are the majority, This is not different. We have to lean on statistics when we have nothing. What about the famous elbow nudge? Yep. Oh, I forgot to look for your response. Crap, but I have way too many people in here, so I apologize. Oh, Cynthia, it's nice to see you. So, all right, guys. Well, that's really all. 6:30 would have been dark in February, though, or am I wrong? I don't know. That's a good question, HDC. I don't know. I heard it was still light out. I heard it was dark, but not pitch black. Hell, even when we went through there, it wasn't pitch black. We turned off the lights of the car and recorded it. I could see as I'm driving, even with the lights off, I could see the car that was on the side of the road. So it wasn't, but some people had brought to my attention, what if everybody didn't turn their lights on until after Sebastian went missing? And so I pondered that, and yeah, I have to think that maybe a few of them probably started turning their light on But we do know that there was lights on in that community because we would have never seen the tail end of that unknown vehicle had it not been for somebody having lights on and those lights reflecting on the back end of that vehicle. So people had lights on in that community. It wasn't as pitch black as they'd like people to think it was. It just wasn't. Another problem in their story, if you ask me. But again, how in the heck would anybody know how dark it was that night unless they went outside of their home and saw how dark it was that night? Just saying. And we're told nobody left that from inside that home, even though we see lights on the outside of the home and one set of lights going back to the home, but nothing to look over there. I'm just trying to put all this together. It is a crazy case, but no matter how you put it together, just like Summer Wells, it all comes back to that house. I'm sorry, it just does. And like I told Don Wells, you know, we're in a pickle. You know, who else can I look into? And he's like, I don't got nobody else. I'm like, well, here's the problem. Everything keeps coming right back here. Do you know why that is? No, I don't. Well, it doesn't look good. That's all I can tell you, Don. It doesn't look good. Good night, Patricia. You have a wonderful evening, love. All right, guys. Well, that's kind of just my commentary, just some thoughts this Sunday evening about this case. Just remember, tomorrow we're going to get back into turning over every stone in this case and getting it right from the news and explaining everything the news is saying as we are gearing up for this. We're not even this. We're only in right now. We're at March 7th. He went missing for on February 26th. So we're already into the second week of this investigation. The second week of this investigation. No hide, no hair, no scent of Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Where is Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers, and when is his father Seth going to be cleared? Because his father Seth had nothing to do with the disappearance of his son. All right, guys, take care. Don't forget to be fearless. If you see something, say something. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And until next time, please be safe, but more importantly, let's show the love and be kind to thy neighbor. Talk to you soon, and God bless. Oh, don't leave yet. I forgot to thank my beautiful people that came here and did that. Ben George, yes, the drama has to go. Thank you. Trishy, did CP say something to the effect, I remember Sebastian thought he'd get me kicked out of my own house. You know what? If anybody knows where that comment came from, knows what interview it is, heck, if you know the mark of where that comment was said, would you guys mind sending it to bullhornbetty@gmail.com, bullhornbetty@gmail.com, and our beautiful Ginger, 3 months bronze member. Thank you so very much. You guys have a wonderful evening and rock it out with your coffee beans out, and we'll chat tomorrow after court. Have a good night and God bless.